Hello, Professor Mohammed and anyone else who might be watching this. My name is Satya, and while I was completing these two visualizations of the data I collected during my experiment, I'm in Planting Science Team 11, I realized that my last video that I made on my channel, which is linked below in the description, was incomplete. So, in this video, I'll point out its flaws. So I decided to make a comprehensive guide on how to find the accurate representation of the chlorophyll level of a leaf. So I first start out by going over to the sidebar, picking the pen tool, or just pressing P on the keyboard. And then I proceed to make a selection by making points that outline this leaf. I'll make a really crude one as to keep the video short. So I'm just going around, picking out the edges, trying to get only the leaf and not the background. Pressing Alt. So if you want to make a curve, all you have to do is select the point and then drag these two sway bars almost around to adjust the curve. See, there it goes out, there it goes in, and this comes with practice. It doesn't come immediately. So if you want to make another point, you might see that this point is actually curved. When you want to have a straight line from this point to this point, like you did for all the other ones, it actually becomes curved. So a way to fix this is by pressing Alt or Option on your keyboard so that that little 2/3 of a triangle comes up when your mouse hovers over this point. Click on it, and then proceed to make another point, like so. I just want to avoid that little indentation as though I don't want to get the background, so I'm just going to press Alt, and there it is. So just going around, trying to make this pretty quick. Press Alt or Option. Again, Alt or Option. See how it makes a straight line when you press Alt or Option? That's what we want. So I'm just making this pretty rough. Alright, so that's basically what you want to have. Then we complete it by clicking on the original point, right click, make selection, feather radius. You could put it to 1, but I want to keep the selection sharp, so I'll put 0, press OK. Then you see the moving dotted lines. And then, after I did that in my previous video as well, I said File, New, made a new white background. And then I took this, I selected the Move tool, or press V on your keyboard, and I dragged this from this. I moved it over to the top, almost preview of this on the tab, which is a tab bar, which is right here. And then I dropped it on top of the V, on top of the background. So then you just want to resize it so that it fits on the page. For more details about how to accurately resize the image to scale without having it distort, just check my last video. So after I pasted it, I brought the eyedropper tool over, which is, you can press I on your keyboard or go here. And then I selected a random point on this leaf. But as you can see, there are many different shades of color on the same leaf. So how do you know which shade to pick? So what happens is, what you could do, you go back to the image where you made your selection after you completed it. You go up to the top, filter, and then go to blur and select average. What this does is that it takes all the pixels in the selection area, averages the R level out, so all of the different, as you can see on the edge, there are different shades, so it averages all of their R levels out, the G levels out, and the B levels out, and comes up with this color. And then it fills the selection area with this color. So you can go over to your eyedropper tool, select that color, Command Z or Control Z if you're on Windows. Go over here, press B for the brush, or go over here and draw a straight or kind of straight line. So you can just have that color on the paper. So after you do that, that's actually not enough, because if you think about it, if you just select this G, first of all, our hypothesis was that the greener a leaf is, the more chlorophyll it has. But that's actually not true according to Photoshop. This image, this leaf, is obviously not greener than, let's say, this one. We can go here, Finder, open, here. Supposedly, if we check the RGB levels of this, the green is 224. Okay, so then we go over here, select, sorry, the eyedropper tool, select it, go over to the swatch, and supposedly it has a G level of 184. Technically, what Photoshop is saying is that this leaf is greener than this leaf, which is obviously not true. So, and also another issue with that is that this color cannot be represented by just the G value, because if you just take the G value, you're basically saying that these two don't matter, but they do matter. If you make these two zero, and then you take the brush tool, or press B on your keyboard, and draw, this color is obviously not as green, is more green than this color. So that's not an accurate representation to just use G. So I did some research and I found that it said, a research report that I'll link in the description said that the B value positively corresponds with the chlorophyll level of a leaf, and the G and R values correspond negatively. So, using common sense, I took out my calculator, which I will put a pop-up of now, switched it on, cleared it, and then if you take the B level, which is 75, or if you want positive 7, just 75 because it registers that as positive, the G value, which is 224, and since the research report said that it negatively corresponds, I, using common sense, subtracted 224, and then also I subtracted R, which also was negatively corresponding with the chlorophyll value. So I subtracted 209. And what that brings us is this quantity. It says, try and focus it, 358. I don't know if you can see that, but I tried. So this number, 358, that's obviously, negative 358. So negative 358 is not, it can't be a level of chlorophyll because it's not positive. There can't be negative amounts of chlorophyll in a leaf. So I assumed that this was a value. This was a relative value that said that it had less, the lower it was, it had less chlorophyll, and the higher the number was, or the greater the number was, it had more chlorophyll. So if we try that with this leaf, we go to I, let's just take a selection, crude selection. Just kind of a guesstimation. So we finish it, make selection, enter, and then we select the move tool by pressing V or going over to here. Drag and drop this onto our white background. We can move it over, make it a little bit smaller. So then if you go over to the swatch tool, you can see the RGB values, and then you want to do the same thing as you did before. So you want to add 85 minus 152, and then you also want to minus or subtract 101. So that brings up 168. And now we start to see some actual common sense. Negative 168. This obviously has more chlorophyll than this on pure visual inspection. But after calculating the RGB value, the RGBC, which stands for RGB chlorophyll values, you can obviously see that since this number is greater than this, it has more chlorophyll, which makes sense. So that's how to find the chlorophyll values of a leaf. You take a selection, you go to filter, average. You can do that with an image with a selection. Average, it finds the average value, and then Control Z, and you go over here, make a brush, find that value by RGB value by pressing I, selecting it. And these obviously aren't the same numbers because I was just testing it, but you subtracted G, the sum of G and R, you find that number, you subtract it from the B value, and then you get a quantity, which is the RGBC, which is basically the RGB chlorophyll level, RGB determined chlorophyll level.